On March 18, 1990, in the heart of Boston, a group of daring thieves executed a meticulously planned robbery at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Under the cover of night, they brazenly infiltrated the museum, stealing 13 priceless artworks with an estimated value of over $500 million. But what makes this heist truly remarkable is not just the staggering value of the stolen pieces, but also the audacity of the thieves and the enduring mystery that surrounds their identities. We will explore the details of this infamous crime, step by step, examining the clues, the suspects, and the theories that have emerged over the years. We will shine a light on the intriguing cast of characters involved, from notorious criminals to alleged masterminds, and delve into the shadowy world of organized crime and the art underworld. Additionally, we will discuss the ongoing efforts by law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, to recover the stolen artworks and bring the perpetrators to justice. Join us on this riveting exploration of the Gardner Museum heist as we embark on a quest for answers and attempt to unravel the secrets that lie hidden within this enigmatic crime. Before we go further, please give the video a like. That really helps with the algorithm. I apologize for putting this in the middle of the video, but the channel has stopped growing recently. In 1990, Boston was a city with a diverse socio-cultural landscape, shaped by its rich history, thriving academic scene, and cultural landmarks. The city was home to some of the world's most prestigious universities, including Harvard, MIT, and Boston University, making it a hub for academic activity and attracting scholars and intellectuals from all over the world. Boston's thriving art scene was well known, with galleries and museums showcasing a wide range of art, from contemporary pieces to historic works. The Museum of Fine Arts Boston, which opened its doors in 1870, stood out as one of the city's most prominent cultural institutions, housing an extensive collection of artworks from around the globe. The city's rich history played a significant role in shaping its identity. Boston was a key player in the American Revolution, and iconic landmarks like the Old North Church and Paul Revere's house served as reminders of its historical significance. However, Boston's socio-cultural landscape was not without challenges, particularly when it came to issues of race. The city had a reputation for being racially divided, and tensions between different ethnic groups often erupted into violence. Neighborhoods like Roxbury and Dorchester faced high levels of poverty and unemployment. Crime was also a significant concern, with gang violence sparking public outcry and demands for action. While the police department was known for its tough stance on crime, it faced criticism for allegations of racial profiling and excessive use of force. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, located in Boston, Massachusetts, is a renowned art museum named after its founder, Isabella Stewart Gardner. Born in 1840 and passing away in 1924, Gardner was a wealthy American art collector and philanthropist who began collecting art in the late 19th century. She amassed an extensive collection that she displayed in her home in Boston's Fenway neighborhood. In 1898, Gardner enlisted architect Willard T. Sears to design a museum to accommodate her growing collection. The result was a magnificent example of Venetian-style architecture, featuring a central courtyard surrounded by 3 levels of galleries and rooms. The museum was completed in 1903 and opened to the public in 1904. The museum's collection is renowned for its diverse and eclectic mix of artworks, spanning various cultures and periods in history. Gardner had a particular fascination with Renaissance art, and the collection boasts masterpieces by renowned artists such as Titian, Rembrandt, and Michelangelo. Additionally, the museum showcases ancient artifacts from Greece, Rome, and Egypt, along with contemporary works by artists like John Singer Sargent and Henry James. However, by the 80s, the museum was under severe financial strain, which resulted in poor conditions such as a lack of climate control, no insurance policy, and building maintenance issues. In 1982, the FBI uncovered a plot to rob the museum, prompting security improvements with the installation of motion detectors and a closed-circuit television system. However, the museum still lacked a fail-safe system to alert the police, and recommended security upgrades in 1988 were not approved due to financial constraints and the founders' opposition to major renovations. The security guards were also paid slightly above minimum wage, and the security flaws were an open secret among them. In the early hours of Sunday, March 18, 1990, witnesses leaving a St. Patrick's Day party near the museum spotted two individuals around 12:30 a.m. These men were dressed like police officers and had parked their hatchback on Palace Road, approximately 100 feet away from the museum's side entrance. Assuming they were genuine officers, the witnesses did not suspect any foul play. On duty that night were Rick Abbott, 23 years old, and Randy Hestand, 25 years old. Abbott had been working as a regular night watchman while it was Hestand's first night shift. According to the museum's security protocol, one guard was assigned to patrol the galleries with a flashlight and walkie-talkie, while the other remained at the security desk. Abbott began his patrol round, and during this time, fire alarms went off in different areas of the museum. However, Abbott did not detect any signs of smoke or fire. Upon returning to the security room, he noticed the fire alarm control panel indicating smoke in multiple rooms. Assuming it was a technical glitch, Abbott turned off the panel. He then continued his patrol, briefly opening and closing the side entrance door without informing Hestand. At 1 a.m., Abbott completed his rounds and returned to the security desk, where Hestand took over. At around 1:20 a.m., the thieves arrived at the side entrance and rang the buzzer, pretending to be police officers investigating a disturbance. Believing them to be genuine due to their appearance in the CCTV footage wearing police uniforms, Abbott allowed them inside. Once inside, the thieves asked if there were any other individuals in the museum and requested that Abbott radio Hestand. Abbott contacted Hestand via radio, and as Hestand entered the room, he was handcuffed by the taller thief. The shorter thief then handcuffed Abbott and revealed their intention to rob the museum. Duct tape was wrapped around the guards' heads and eyes, and they were led into the basement, where they were handcuffed to a steam pipe and workbench. The thieves searched the guards' wallets and warned them not to disclose any information to the authorities, promising them a reward after a year. The entire process took less than 15 minutes, and it was now approximately 1:35 a.m. The movements of the thieves as they navigated through the museum were captured by infrared motion detectors. However, their presence in the Dutch room on the second floor was not recorded until 1:48 a.m., which was 13 minutes after they had subdued the guards. It is believed that the thieves intentionally waited to ensure that no police were alerted. As the thieves approached the paintings in the Dutch room, a device began beeping, which would typically indicate if a visitor was too close to a painting. However, the thieves destroyed it by smashing it. They proceeded to remove the storm on the Sea of Galilee and a lady and gentleman in black from their frames and dropped them onto the marble floor, causing the glass frames to shatter. Using a blade, they cut the canvases from their stretchers. They also took a large Rembrandt self-portrait oil painting from the wall, but left it leaning against a cabinet. Investigators believe that the thieves might have considered it too large to transport, possibly because it was painted on wood instead of the more durable canvas like the other paintings. Instead, they took a small postage stamp-sized self-portrait etching by Rembrandt, which was displayed below the larger portrait. On the right side of the room, they removed landscape, with obelisk and the concert from their frames. The last item taken from the room was an ancient jiu, an ancient Chinese wine-serving vessel dating back to the 12th century BC. At 1:51 a.m., while one thief continued working in the Dutch room, the other entered a narrow hallway known as the Short Gallery on the opposite end of the second floor. The second thief joined shortly afterward. In this room, they began unscrewing a frame that held a Napoleonic flag, presumably attempting to steal the flag itself. However, they seemed to give up midway as not all the screws were removed, and they only took the exposed eagle finial from the top of the flagpole. They also took 5 Degas sketches from the room. The final artwork stolen was Chez Tortoni from the Blue Room on the first floor. The museum's motion detectors did not register any movement in the Blue Room during the thieves' presence in the building. The only footsteps detected in the room that night belonged to Abbott during his 2 earlier patrols. Before departing, the thieves checked on the guards one last time and asked if they were comfortable. They then proceeded to the office of the security director, where they took the video cassettes containing footage of their entry from the closed-circuit cameras, as well as the data printouts from the motion detecting equipment. The movement data was also stored on an untouched hard drive. The frame for Chez Tortoni was left on the security director's desk. The thieves then proceeded to remove the stolen artwork from the museum. The side entrance doors were opened once at 2:40 a.m. and again for the final time at 2:45 a.m. The entire robbery lasted for a total of 81 minutes. The following shift of guards arrived later in the morning and became aware that something was amiss when their attempts to establish contact with anyone inside went unanswered. They contacted the security director, who, upon entering the building with his keys, discovered that no one was present at the watch desk and promptly alerted the police. A search of the premises led the police to find the guards still bound in the basement. A total of 13 artworks were stolen from the museum, making it the most valuable museum robbery in history. Initially, the FBI estimated the worth of the stolen pieces at $200 million in 1990, a figure that was later revised to $500 million in 2000. However, some art dealers suggested in the late 2000s that the stolen works could be valued at as much as $600 million. Experts have been puzzled by the diverse selection of stolen items, as some of the abandoned paintings were just as valuable as those that were taken. For instance, works by Raphael, Botticelli, and Michelangelo were left undisturbed, while the thieves chose relatively insignificant objects like the GU and the finial. Furthermore, the thieves never entered the museum's 3rd floor, where Titian's masterpiece, The Rape of Europa, was displayed, despite its high value. Investigators believe that the thieves were not specialized experts hired to steal specific works, considering the variety of items taken and the rough manner in which they were handled. The museum's director made the decision to leave the empty frames of the stolen paintings in place, honoring Gardner's will. Due to the museum's financial constraints and lack of insurance coverage for the loss, Sotheby's and Christie's auction houses were approached to offer a reward of $1 million. Taking immediate control of the case, the FBI stepped in due to the potential interstate implications of the stolen artwork. Investigators considered this case to be unique due to the absence of compelling physical evidence. The thieves managed to avoid leaving behind footprints or hair, and the fingerprints found at the scene couldn't definitively be linked to either the thieves or the museum staff. Over the years, as advancements in DNA analysis emerged, the FBI conducted some analysis on the evidence, although some of it has been misplaced within their files. Based on the accounts of the guards and witnesses, one of the thieves was described as approximately 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches tall in his late 30s and with a medium build. The other individual was estimated to be between 6 feet and 6 feet 1 inch tall in his early 30s and with a heavier build. Early in the investigation, security guard Rick Abbott raised suspicions due to his questionable actions on the night of the theft. During his patrol, Abbott briefly opened and closed a side door, leading some to speculate that it could have been a signal to the thieves waiting outside. Abbott claimed that it was a routine check to ensure the door was secure, but a fellow guard pointed out that such activity would have been documented and stopped by supervisors if it were a regular occurrence. Additionally, the museum's motion detectors failed to detect any movement in the Blue Room where Chez Tortoni was located while the thieves were present, with only Abbott's footsteps being detected during his patrol. A security consultant later confirmed that the motion detectors were functioning correctly. Despite these suspicions, Abbott maintains his innocence, and an FBI agent involved in the early stages of the case concluded that the guards were too incompetent to have orchestrated the crime. In 2015, the FBI released a security video from the museum that showed Abbott allowing an unidentified man to enter and engage in a conversation at the security desk. Abbott claimed to have no recollection of the incident or knowledge of the man's identity, prompting the FBI to seek the public's assistance. Former museum guards later identified the stranger as Abbott's superior, the museum's deputy security chief. Another notable suspect was the notorious crime boss Whitey Bulger, who led the Winter Hill Gang and had a significant presence in Boston. He denied being involved in the heist and claimed to have sent his agents to investigate the crime to ensure he received the appropriate tribute for any activity on his turf. FBI agent Thomas McShane examined the potential involvement of Whitey Bulger, considering his strong connections with the Boston police, which could have provided the thieves access to authentic police uniforms or the involvement of actual officers. Bulger also had associations with the Irish Republican Army. McShane looked into the fake fire alarm as a possible calling card of the IRA or their rivals, the Ulster Volunteer Force, both of which had operatives in Boston and prior experience in art theft. However, McShane's investigation failed to uncover any evidence linking Bulger or the IRA to the theft. Retired art and antiquities investigator Charlie Hill claimed that Bulger allegedly handed over the stolen Gardner works to the IRA, implying that they are likely in Ireland. In 1994, museum director Anne Hawley received an anonymous letter from someone claiming to initiate negotiations for the return of the stolen artwork. The letter purported to be from a third-party negotiator with no knowledge of the thieves' identity. It revealed that the artwork had been stolen to secure a reduced prison sentence, but since that opportunity had passed, there was no longer a motive to hold on to the artwork, and they wished to discuss its return. According to the writer, the stolen pieces were being kept in a country that did not follow common law, ensuring climate-controlled conditions. They requested immunity for themselves and all parties involved, along with a payment of $2.6 million to be transferred to an offshore bank account simultaneously with the handover of the artwork. To prove their legitimacy, the writer provided specific details known only to the museum and the FBI at that time. Director Hawley considered this lead significant and promptly contacted the FBI, who approached the Boston Globe to publish a coded message on May 1, 1994, as a signal of the museum's interest in negotiation. A few days later, Hawley received a second letter from the writer, acknowledging the museum's willingness to engage in discussions, but expressing concerns about an extensive investigation by federal and state authorities aimed at identifying them. The writer indicated a need for time to evaluate their options. However, Hawley did not receive any further communication from the writer. In 1981, a con man named Brian McDevitt, hailing from Boston, attempted to rob the Hyde Collection in Glens Falls, New York. Disguised as a FedEx driver and armed with handcuffs and duct tape, he had plotted to steal a Rembrandt painting. McDevitt, who had a keen interest in flags, shared some similarities with the description of one of the larger thieves, except for his thinning red hair. These similarities caught the attention of the FBI, prompting them to interview him in late 1990. However, McDevitt vehemently denied any involvement and refused to undergo a polygraph test. The FBI compared his fingerprints with those found at the crime scene, but found no match. McDevitt later relocated to California, where he employed his deceptive skills to forge a career in television and film writing. He passed away in 2004. In March 2013, the FBI made significant progress in their investigation, announcing that they had identified the thieves with a high level of confidence. They believed the culprits were members of a criminal organization operating in the Mid-Atlantic and New England regions. Furthermore, they were confident that the stolen artwork had been transported to Connecticut and Philadelphia in the years following the theft, with an attempted sale taking place in Philadelphia in 2002. However, their knowledge of subsequent events was limited, prompting them to seek the public's assistance in locating and recovering the artwork. In 2015, the FBI revealed that both thieves had passed away, though they did not disclose their identities publicly. Insider sources familiar with the investigation suggested that they were associated with a gang based in Dorchester, loyal to Boston Mafia boss Frank Salemme, and conducting their activities from an automotive repair shop operated by the criminal Carmelo Merlino. It is possible that Merlino's associates acquired knowledge of the museum's vulnerabilities through gangster Louis Royce, who had previously assessed the premises as early as 1981. Royce had devised plans with an accomplice to create chaos by deploying smoke bombs and swiftly raiding the galleries. In 1982, while undercover FBI agents were investigating Royce and his associates for an unrelated art theft, they discovered their interest in robbing the Gardner Museum. Consequently, they alerted the museum to the gang's intentions. It is worth noting that Royce was incarcerated at the time of the actual robbery, raising the possibility that he had shared his plan with others. Additionally, it is believed that Stephen Rossetti, an associate of Royce, may have ordered the heist or disclosed the plan to another individual. Associated with the Merlino gang were individuals named Robert Guarente and Robert Gentile, a gangster from Manchester, Connecticut. Guarente passed away in 2004 due to cancer. However, in 2010, his widow, Aline, informed the FBI that her husband had previously owned some of the stolen paintings. She claimed that when he fell ill with cancer in the early 2000s, he entrusted the artworks to Gentile for safekeeping. Gentile vehemently denied these allegations, asserting that he had never received the paintings and had no knowledge of their whereabouts. In 2012, federal authorities indicted Gentile on drug charges, potentially as a tactic to pressure him into revealing information about the Gardner works. He underwent a polygraph test, which indicated deception when he denied any involvement in the theft or knowledge of the artwork's location. However, Gentile insisted that he was telling the truth and requested a retest. During the retest, he admitted that Elaine had once shown him the missing Rembrandt self-portrait, and the polygraph indicated his truthfulness. Gentile's lawyer raised concerns about the influence of the substantial presence of federal agents on the credibility of Gentile's statements. In an attempt to elicit honest responses, they requested a smaller, more intimate meeting. In this meeting, Gentile maintained that he had no information related to the theft. Shortly after, the FBI executed a search warrant at Gentile's residence in Manchester. They discovered a hidden pit under a false floor in the backyard shed. However, it was found to be empty. Gentile's son explained that the pit had flooded a few years earlier, and his father had been upset about the contents. In the basement, the FBI found a copy of the Boston Herald from March 1990, which reported on the theft, along with a piece of paper listing potential black market prices for each artwork. Despite these findings, no conclusive evidence was uncovered to support the claim that Gentile had ever possessed the stolen paintings. Gentile was subsequently sentenced to 30 months in prison on drug charges. Throughout his imprisonment, he never chose to share any information about the theft, which could have resulted in a reduced sentence or his release from prison. After his release, Gentile spoke with investigative reporter Stephen Kirkshian, alleging that he had been framed by the FBI. He described the detrimental impact of his imprisonment on his financial situation and personal life. Gentile further explained that the list found in his basement had been compiled by a criminal seeking to broker the return of the artworks from Guarente, and that Gentile was being approached as an intermediary. When questioned about the contents of the pit, Gentile could not recall but believed it might have contained small motors. David Turner, another individual associated with Merlino, came under investigation by the FBI in 1992 after a source revealed that Turner had potential access to the stolen paintings. In the same year, Merlino was arrested for cocaine trafficking and offered authorities the return of the artworks in exchange for a reduced prison sentence. Merlino enlisted Turner's help in locating the paintings, but despite rumors that they were in a church in South Boston, Turner was unsuccessful in finding them. Another associate implicated Turner in multiple burglaries, but made no mention of the Gardner heist. Conversations with Merlino following his release from prison in the mid-1990s led authorities to believe that Merlino did not directly possess the paintings, but might have had the ability to negotiate their return. Although Turner maintained his innocence, the FBI suspects he may have been one of the thieves. Evidence suggests that he traveled to Florida shortly before the heist to pick up a cocaine order, and credit card records indicate he remained there on the night of the robbery. However, some investigators speculate that this could have been an attempt by Turner to establish an alibi. The FBI believes the other thief was Turner's friend and fellow Merlino associate, George Reisfelder, who passed away in July 1991. While no leads were found in Reisfelder's residence or the homes of his acquaintances, his siblings recall the presence of a painting resembling Chez Tortoni in his bedroom. Investigators note that Reisfelder bears a resemblance to the slimmer individual depicted in the police sketches. In 1999, the FBI apprehended Turner, Merlino, Rossetti, and several others in a sting operation planned on the same day they intended to rob a Loomis Fargo vault. During questioning, the FBI informed Turner that they had information implicating him in the Gardner robbery and offered him the chance to be released if he returned the stolen paintings. Turner insisted that he did not know the identity of the thieves or the whereabouts of the artworks. During his trial in 2001, he claimed entrapment, alleging that the FBI had allowed the Loomis Fargo scheme to proceed to pressure him for information about the Gardner paintings. However, the jury found him guilty, resulting in his imprisonment. Turner had a connection to Gentile through Guarente and, in 2010, sent a letter to Gentile asking if Gentile could contact Turner's former girlfriend to aid in the recovery of the stolen Gardner paintings. With the FBI's cooperation, Gentile spoke to Turner's girlfriend, who informed him that Turner wanted Gentile to speak with two of his ex-convict friends in Boston. The FBI proposed that Gentile meet the men while accompanied by an undercover agent, but Gentile declined further cooperation. Turner was released from prison in November 2019, 1 month after Stephen Rossetti's release, while Merlino passed away in prison in 2005. Bobby Donati, a criminal associated with the Patriarca crime family, was murdered in 1991 during a gang war. His suspected involvement in the Gardner theft emerged when art thief Miles J. Connor Jr. spoke with authorities. Connor, though in jail at the time of the heist, believed Donati and David Houghton were the masterminds. He claimed that Donati showed interest in the finial after casing the Gardner Museum, and Houghton confessed to organizing the robbery to help Connor get out of jail. Connor suggested that Donati and Houghton may have hired lower-level gangsters to carry out the actual theft. Both Donati and Houghton died within 2 years of the robbery. Connor offered to assist in recovering the stolen art in exchange for the museum's reward and his freedom, but investigators did not comply. Instead, they turned their attention to criminal and antiques dealer William P. Youngworth based on Connor's lead. Raids were conducted on Youngworth's properties, and journalist Tom Mashberg became involved in the investigation. Youngworth claimed he had proof of the stolen Gardner paintings and showed one to Mashberg, but subsequent FBI raids on the warehouse revealed nothing. The authenticity of the painting shown to journalist Tom Mashberg by William P. Youngworth and the credibility of Youngworth's claims have been called into question. Turner insisted that he did not know the identity of the thieves or the whereabouts of the artworks. During his trial in 2001, he claimed entrapment, alleging that the FBI had allowed the Loomis Fargo scheme to proceed to pressure him for information about the Gardner paintings. However, the jury found him guilty, resulting in his imprisonment. The paint chips provided by Youngworth were confirmed to be from the 17th century, but did not match the paints used in Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee. Mashberg's description of the painting as unfurled raised doubts, as the stolen artwork was coated with a heavy varnish that would not roll easily. Although federal authorities and the museum started working with Youngworth after Mashberg's story, negotiations were difficult as Youngworth insisted on full immunity and the release of Miles J. Connor Jr. The authorities, skeptical of Youngworth's reliability, offered only partial immunity and eventually ceased discussions unless more solid evidence of his access to the stolen Gardner works was provided. Youngworth later provided additional paint chips and photographs, but they were determined not to be from the stolen Rembrandts. In 2014, investigative reporter Stephen Kirkshian contacted Vincent Ferrara, Bobby Donati's superior during the gang war, to inquire about the Gardner theft. An associate of Ferrara disputed the FBI's suspicion of the Merlino gang and claimed that Donati was the mastermind behind the robbery. Donati had visited Ferrara in jail before the theft and assured him of his involvement, expressing intentions to secure Ferrara's release. However, negotiations never took place as Donati was murdered. Kirkshian suggests that Donati wanted to free Ferrara because he could provide protection in the gang war. Another source corroborated Donati's role in the theft and mentioned that he gave paintings to Guarente out of concern for his own safety. Donati and Guarente were close friends and were spotted together with a bag of police uniforms at a social club in Revere shortly before the robbery. Who do you think was involved in the Gardner Museum heist? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Till next time. Signing off. This has been Christina.